Hi, I'm Katja and I'm going to do a little interview with our guests today. We have two very lovely guests from our panel about lesbian solidarity movements here. So I want you to meet them as much as we managed to in this time during the festival. So actually I would like you to tell me a little bit about yourselves. Tell me, who are you, where do you come from, and what do you do? What's your activism? What's your passion?
Okay. My name is Nino Kharchilava. I'm from Georgia, Tbilisi. I'm feminist queer activist for more than 10 years. My passion, I would say, that is creating spaces of acceptance for everyone who is out there, creating and co-creating such spaces together with my colleagues and together with community that I belong to. And other communities that maybe I don't belong to, but still have something in common. So this is what I've been doing so far, and I feel that there is much more potential on thinking about creation of spaces and theorizing about it, and that's actually what I'm working on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I don't know because this is recorded. So I'm Angelica Polmonari. I'm an Italian activist for LGBT rights at the local, national, and international levels within both Arcigay, which is the main Italian federation of LGBT organizations, but also within ILGA World, which is the main the principal global federation of LGBT organizations. My passion when it comes to activism for LGBT rights is advocacy. So I'm a geek. I'm a fan of political institutional advocacy for LGBT rights at all levels. And I'm from Italy. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a truly proud lesbian activist for LGBT rights in Italy, which is unfortunately still one of the most transphobic and most homophobic countries in Europe. So there's still a lot of work to do. And so I'm here thanks to another lesbian activist that I will mention afterwards. So Lesbian Solidarity brought me here to Ljubljana. And so thank you very much also for this opportunity of sharing some insights on our joint panel. Mm-hmm. And Lesbian Solidarity also made this encounter possible. So I'm really glad to be next to Nino, who is an incredible Georgian activist. And so Georgia, Italy, and Slovenia, and we will see how this conversation develops itself. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Katja.
I mean, thank you very much for being here. It's actually really, we're really happy to hear your voices at our panels, but also that we have the opportunity to network among 50 international guests that we have here. So, so as we mentioned, you were speaking at a panel that was about lesbians. Mm-hmm. And I want to hear a little bit, this is a little bit of a personal question, but what do you see, how do you feel about the role of lesbian in international LGBTIQ plus solidarity? How do you see this identity being intertwined in this maybe broader movement?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Maybe I will start with the experience that of community building, of beginning of community building in Georgia. Back in 2008, when we started creating safe space for community, for LGBTQI whole community, we could see that there were very few women who would come and participate and take space. So we have been always working with intersectional feminist approach, which analyzes space not in a way who takes it, but who is missing.
like always listening to the unheard voices and trying to catch the image of those who are not there and who are not present and who are not visible. So and we built on this approach our visibility politics, our advocacy in every direction that we work on, and empowerment or community building direction, everything. So what I want to say is that we could see that even in LGBTQI space, women were not there. So women were missing. So what we did was we created separate space, women only space. This politics of separation, and this was identity politics and politics of separation inside community building. It's not the only method that we use. It's like identity politics is not the only way that we work, but at that time we saw that that was important because in fact to take space, you need resource, you need power, and you need voice. But as the system is oppressive, first you should have a chance to voice yourself and take the space. So this approach actually worked, and we saw that it's like feminist approach is not about this capitalistic logic of demand and providing. It's about first creating space and then the space will be filled. So that's how it worked actually, and a lot of women would come and then go to activism and to feminist activism, as feminist activism was more safe than queer activism at that time. But I should say that there was no feminist voice in queer activism, and among feminists there was no queer voice. Also, this was also something that we tried to advocate, like among queer community. We tried to have this feminist approach and voice, and among feminists, unfortunately, not all feminists are free of prejudices, and we had to work on tackling homophobia. As present as cis women. So we decided to create separate space for trans women, and I'm so glad that now we can see the initiatives, like down up initiatives, that trans people, trans persons and non-binary persons, they themselves create space, safe spaces. It's not like it's their voice, their initiative. They're powerful enough to do it themselves. So our solidarity in that moment is just to support and just to be there if needed, not to take any agency, not to create something for them, but just to let them create their own space. And I'm saying them, but I'm not othering. I'm just respecting the space that I don't want to kind of co-opt. But generally, when I talk about my positioning, my identity, it's always political. because inside I always like feel that I don't need to be of any identity at all, like inside of myself. But when needed, when about taking space, I am saying that yes, I am queer, I am from Caucasus, or I am Georgian. But I do not tend to take one part of me and make from it the main identity for myself. Because for me, it's also problematic to put people in boxes of one oppression only. I see intersection of oppressions. And I think that it is very political to state that a person we bear with our bodies and in our emotional space a lot of injustice and oppressions, and privileges also. And I think solidarity, the main thing about solidarity is always reflecting on the privileges and intersection of the oppressions and the fights that we are going through. And also finding this on the movement level, like finding the mutual struggles with mutual movements, whether it will be environmental movement or like against poverty, or women's movement or queer woman movement. Like I think I see it as a whole systemic approach to our struggles, which might not be similar, but maybe there will be meeting points, and it's very interesting to find these bridges.
So how about you, Angelica? What would you say, how do you see kind of the role of a lesbian in the international queer solidarity, for starters?
Wow, this is a challenging question. So thank you very much, Nino, for answering first, because this way I had some extra time to reflect on the content I would love to share with you. So before talking about the role of lesbian activists within this international dimension and framework of activism for LGBT rights at the global level, I would love to start from my personal experience as Nino did. So talking about my lesbian activism for LGBT rights at the local and national level in Italy, because this is what made me an international activist as well. And so back in 2018, I remember having this conversation with the vice president of Arcigay Modena, which is the local committee of Arcigay that I'm the present and current first female president of, after 22 years of male leadership, gay, man-centered, oriented, led leadership. I remember Valentina Quattrocchi and I having this conversation about the opportunity of creating a women's asterisk, so LBQ, transgender, intersex women only space within this local chapter of Arcigay, which is one of the, I would say, one of the historical ones, because it was founded in 2000, so already 23 years ago, because we thought that LBQ women plus needed a safe space to start elaborating their proper policies, but within an LGBTQIA plus organizations. And at that time, so we decided to try to bring forward this kind of internal transfeminist, gentle, kind revolution within our organization. And to be honest, it wasn't that easy, because as I said before, Arcigay Modena, but also Arcigay at the national level, at that time, they had been already led by gay men for ages, for decades. And so what we tried to do was try to break the system from the very inside of the system itself. But solidarity brought us together, and so we decided to start organizing events for LGBTQ women, of course, in partnership with the gay president of the time. And then we saw that starting organizing events for LGBTQIA plus intersex women of our community brought many, more and more women plus to the space. And so we realized that it was worth it, even if it was challenging, problematic, conflictive at the very beginning. And so lesbian solidarity, lesbian activism at the local level, for me at the very beginning meant this. So creating space for other lesbians, other bisexual women, other transgender women, queer women to come to our organization, to feel themselves seen, heard, represented. So local level lesbian activism for me started like this. So trying to being as lesbian as possible within a mainstream LGBTQI plus organizations. And then what happened was that this first women-only group created within my organization at the local level anticipated the establishment of the very first national transfeminist network of LGBTQ women internal to Arcigay. So this meant that what we had already done in Modena was something that other LGBTQ women was already like feeling and perceiving as essential at the national level as well. And so in 2019, the Rete Donne Transfemminista like was brought into reality. And so like in Modena we were like, okay, so like we anticipated a wave both at the local and national levels, because at the very same time, so in parallel terms, with regard to our experience in Modena, other local committees of Arcigay realized that it was important to have women-only group internal to the local chapters themselves, and so other women-only group were established. I'm thinking about the experience of Arcigay Milano, Arcigay Rimini, Arcigay Padova. So I would say the most empowered local chapters of Arcigay realized that it was important for them as well to have women-only group. And so, so lesbian activism at the local and national level. And so what happened, like in my personal case, was that in 2021, Arcigay received the news that there was this vacancy within the Women's Steering Committee of ILGA World for the European representative to the committee itself. And so what happened was that another lesbian activist, who is now the first ever lesbian female, to be honest, female president of Arcigay at the national level, Natasha Mesi, was appointed in November 2022. She was like, okay, we need an international advocate representing, an international female advocating for Arcigay, first of all at the European level, but within a global structure as the one of ILGA World, as the one of the steering committee of ILGA World. And she was like, okay, Angelica, I know that you have already matured an international experience when it comes to activism, but also when it comes also to advocating for human rights in professional terms, because I had already worked at the European Parliament at that time. And she was like, Angelica, would you like to apply for this position? So lesbian solidarity at the national and international level, intertwining, because she reached out to me and she was like, Angelica, I cannot run for this position and I would love you to run for this position. And so a lesbian activist empowering another one. And so I would say a virtuous cycle of a chain of empowerment among lesbians. And so this is how I reached the international dimension of activism for LGBT rights as a lesbian activist. And so what is the role of lesbians in the global movement? I think that the role of lesbians in the global movement for LGBTQI+ rights is the same role that I've been experiencing both at the local and national level. So creating spaces, as Nino was saying, providing LGBTQI+ people, but also gay people, LGBTQI+ people as a whole, with new opportunities of networking, of mutual empowerment, mutual aid, mutual care, because this is what happened to me. So at the local level, it was two lesbians, provide the two of us, so Valentina and I, creating new spaces for LGBTQ women. At the national level, it was Natasha, it was me, it was Valentina, it was all the other lesbian activists at the local level, within the local chapters that I mentioned and other ones, trying to create new spaces and providing new opportunities to other LGBTQ women. And at the international level, this is what happened to me, literally 2 years ago. So another lesbian, so Natasha, came to me saying, Angelica, what about sharing the space? I will not take this opportunity because I would love you to apply for this position. And then what happened for me in ILGA World was the same. So I am now the chair of a committee made up by 6 activists plus 1, because I'm the coordinator. I always define myself as literally the chair, the chair, which is an instrument, the chair of the committee and not the president. And what I've been trying to do, among the last year and a half through the last year, as the new chair of the Women's Committee of ILGA World, has been trying to putting people in contact, providing new opportunities and creating new spaces of advocacy, but also of mutual learning and mutual understanding. And I'm here thanks to Liliana Ginova, who is another non-binary extraordinary lesbian activist, who reached out to the organization saying, I would love Angelica to be part of the program, because we met in Budapest for the last international conference of ELC, which is the Euro Central Asian Lesbian Community. And she was like, please, I would love to have her with us, with all the other panelists. And so I think this is what lesbians at all levels have been doing to the past few decades. So, like beginning from themselves, but then like always in a dialogue with the community, like building bridges and opening up spaces, creating new opportunities. And thank you very much, Nino, for sharing like your experience, the one that you had in 2009, because the community, like in the end, came to you because you had provided the community with spaces, and then the community wanted to thank you and wanted to be like.
But it's so not even us and the community. We're together. Yes, for us and for us all. But it was such a powerful. Like they took a power of creation.
Yes. So this is
and it was very
lesbians create opportunities, I would say, and spaces.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this is going to be useful for our viewers as well. Thank you both very much. I think that with this we can finish. Angelica and Nino, it was so nice having you here.
Thank you for
we made it.
Inviting.
I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you have the best time tomorrow at Pride, and that we can celebrate a little bit afterwards.